The security cameras at the Atlantis Palm Dubai captured their final moments together at 9:47 p.m. on March 15, 2017. Rajiv Patel, impeccably dressed in his signature Armani suit, walked confidently through the restaurant's marble lobby, his arm protectively around his wife Priya's shoulder. She wore the diamond necklace he'd given her for their 12th anniversary, her sari an elegant shade of emerald that complemented the restaurant's opulent decor. They looked like the perfect power couple, successful, wealthy, devoted. What the cameras didn't capture was the young woman watching from the bar area, her hands trembling as she clutched her phone. Neha Sharma had been waiting for this moment for weeks, but as she watched Rajiv play the devoted husband, the rage that had been building inside her for months finally reached its breaking point. In less than 2 hours, both Rajiv and Priya would be dead, and Dubai's expatriate community would be shattered by a crime that revealed the dark cost of forbidden desire. Rajiv Patel's office on the 45th floor of the Burj Khalifa offered a commanding view of Dubai's glittering skyline, a fitting metaphor for the empire he'd built since arriving from Mumbai 15 years ago. At 42, he embodied the Indian dream of success in the UAE, starting with a small import business and expanding into luxury hospitality, real estate, and tech ventures. His chain of boutique hotels across Dubai Marina had made him a fixture in the city's business elite circles. His success story was the kind featured in business magazines. The middle-class boy from Ahmedabad who'd transformed himself into a UAE millionaire. His penthouse in downtown Dubai, overlooking the fountain shows, housed a collection of contemporary Indian art worth millions. His garage contained a Lamborghini, a Bentley, and a custom Rolls-Royce Phantom. But beneath the polished exterior, Rajiv carried the weight of maintaining multiple identities. To his business associates, he was the shrewd entrepreneur who could navigate Dubai's complex multicultural business landscape. To his wife Priya, he was the devoted family man who never missed their children's school events. To Neha, he was the passionate lover who promised a future he never intended to deliver. Priya Patel moved through their Dubai Hills mansion with the grace of someone who'd grown comfortable with luxury but hadn't forgotten her roots. At 35, she had transformed from the shy engineering graduate Rajiv had married in an arranged match into Dubai's most respected Indian philanthropist. Her charity work with migrant worker families had earned her recognition from the UAE government and invitations to diplomatic functions. She managed their household staff of 6 with efficiency learned from her mother-in-law, ensuring their children Arjun, 10, and Kavya, 8, remained grounded despite their privileged upbringing. Every morning, she video called her mother in Pune while organizing the day's activities. Hindi tutoring sessions, classical dance classes, weekend trips to Global Village to maintain their cultural connections. Priya trusted Rajiv completely. His late business meetings, weekend conferences, and international trips were simply the price of their success. She wore her role as the perfect Indian wife with pride, never questioning the occasional lipstick stains on his shirts or the expensive gifts that appeared in his car, gifts she assumed were client appreciation tokens. Neha Sharma's studio apartment in Dubai Marina was a carefully curated Instagram fantasy, designer knockoffs mixed with genuine luxury pieces, each item strategically placed to create the illusion of a lifestyle just beyond her reach. At 22, she possessed the kind of beauty that stopped conversations in Dubai's upscale venues. Tall, with the classical features that graced Bollywood screens, and an ambition that burned brighter than the city's neon lights. She'd arrived in Dubai 2 years ago with a commerce degree from Delhi University and dreams that exceeded her small-town Rajasthan origins. The receptionist position at Rajiv's flagship hotel, the Pearl Marina, was supposed to be a stepping stone to bigger opportunities. Her Instagram account, at Neha in Dubai, showcased a life of luxury brunches, designer shopping trips, and exclusive events, a carefully constructed narrative that attracted 50,000 followers who envied her apparent success. But the reality was more complex. The designer bags were rented, the luxury dinners were paid for by others, and the exclusive events were work obligations disguised as social opportunities. Neha had learned to navigate Dubai's complex social hierarchy, where youth and beauty could open doors that education and talent couldn't. When Rajiv Patel first noticed her during a hotel inspection 6 months ago, she saw an opportunity to finally live the life she'd been pretending to have. The affair began with a glance across the hotel lobby during Diwali celebrations in October 2016. Rajiv was hosting a cultural event for Dubai's Indian business community, and Neha had been assigned to manage VIP guest relations. She wore a burgundy lehenga that had cost 3 months' salary, but the investment paid off when she caught Rajiv's attention during the traditional dance performance. Their first conversation lasted exactly 7 minutes, timed by the security cameras that would later become crucial evidence. He complimented her organization skills, asked about her background, and suggested she might be better suited for the marketing department. The promotion came 2 weeks later, along with a salary increase that finally allowed her to afford the lifestyle she'd been faking. The boundaries blurred gradually. Business dinners extended into personal conversations about their dreams and disappointments. Rajiv spoke about the pressure of maintaining his public image, the arranged marriage that had brought stability but not passion, the weight of family expectations. Neha shared her ambitions, her frustration with traditional Indian society's limitations for women, her desire to build something meaningful. Their first kiss happened in his private office after the hotel's New Year's Eve gala. The city's fireworks reflected off the floor-to-ceiling windows as Rajiv pulled her close, whispering promises about the future they could build together. That night, as Neha returned to her modest apartment with Rajiv's cologne still lingering on her dress, she believed she'd finally found her ticket to the life she deserved. The affair quickly intensified into a passionate romance conducted in Dubai's most exclusive venues, hidden in plain sight among the city's beautiful people. By February 2017, Rajiv was living 3 distinct lives with practiced ease. His mornings began at 5:30 a.m. with prayers in his home temple, followed by breakfast with Priya and the children. He would discuss Arjun's cricket matches and Kavya's art competitions with genuine paternal pride, his phone buzzing with messages from Neha that he'd answer after Priya left for her charity work. His days were filled with legitimate business meetings, conference calls with international partners, and site visits to his various properties. But the real excitement came in the stolen moments with Neha at lunch meetings that stretched into the afternoon at private dining rooms in the Armani Hotel, weekend business trips to his hotels in other Emirates where they would spend passionate hours overlooking the Arabian Gulf. The gifts escalated monthly. A Tiffany bracelet appeared on Neha's desk after a successful marketing campaign. A weekend in the Maldives was disguised as a business conference. Her wardrobe transformed from careful budget shopping to genuine designer pieces, each item accompanied by handwritten notes professing Rajiv's deepening feelings. Neha's social media presence evolved accordingly. Her followers watched in fascination as at Neha in Dubai transformed from aspirational content to genuine luxury lifestyle posts. Designer bags appeared regularly, exotic travel destinations became monthly features, and her apartment gradually filled with expensive decor pieces. The comments poured in, "Goals. Living the dream. How do I get your life?" But behind the curated perfection, Neha was documenting everything: screenshots of their conversations, photos of gifts with timestamps, receipts from their secret getaways. The turning point came during a weekend trip to Rajiv's boutique hotel in Ras Al Khaimah in January 2017. As they watched the sunset from their private villa's infinity pool, Rajiv made the promises that would eventually lead to his downfall. "Give me time," he whispered, pulling her close as the Arabian Gulf stretched endlessly before them. "I need to figure out how to handle the family situation delicately. The children, the business partnerships with Priya's family, it's complicated." Neha had heard variations of this conversation before, but this time Rajiv was more specific. He spoke about divorcing Priya quietly, ensuring the children's custody arrangements wouldn't become public spectacles. He promised to set up a separate business for Neha, maybe a luxury event planning company that would establish her independence. Most importantly, he promised marriage a real future together, not just stolen moments between his other responsibilities. 6 months, he said, sliding a Cartier bracelet onto her wrist. "By July, everything will be different. We'll be together properly, and you'll never have to pretend again." The bracelet was beautiful, but Neha was beginning to understand that jewelry and promises weren't the same thing. She'd been hearing about his complicated situation for months, while watching him play the devoted husband at public events. Her friends were asking increasingly pointed questions about her mysterious benefactor, and her parents in Jaipur were pressuring her about marriage prospects. Meanwhile, Rajiv's own stress was mounting. Priya had begun commenting on his frequent absences and mood changes. His business partners, many of whom were family friends, were including Priya in more social events, making his double life increasingly difficult to maintain. The weight of deception was becoming unbearable, but he couldn't find a way out that didn't destroy everything he'd built. As months passed, Neha's patience transformed into desperation, then into something darker. She began researching Rajiv's business holdings, discovering the extent of his wealth and the complex partnership structures that tied him to Priya's family. Her own family was pressuring her to return to Rajasthan for an arranged marriage, unable to understand her insistence on building an independent life in Dubai. The luxury lifestyle that had once thrilled her now felt like a cage. She couldn't afford any of it without Rajiv's support, making her completely dependent on his continued attention. Her social media followers envied her apparent success, but she was essentially living a lie funded by a man who had no intention of making their relationship legitimate. Her friends noticed the changes, the anxiety attacks disguised as excitement, the defensive responses to innocent questions, the way she would check her phone obsessively during social gatherings. Sarah, her roommate from her early Dubai days, confronted her directly. "Neha, whoever he is, this isn't healthy. You're losing yourself." But Neha was in too deep to listen to reason. She'd built her entire identity around this relationship, and the thought of returning to her previous life felt like admitting failure. Instead, she began planning ways to force Rajiv's hand, starting with carefully documenting their affair and his promises. February brought the first real confrontation. Neha had seen photos on social media of Rajiv and Priya at a Valentine's Day charity gala, looking radiant and happy. While she'd spent the evening alone in her apartment, he'd been publicly celebrating his marriage. Their argument the next day was explosive. In his office, behind soundproof doors, Neha unleashed months of frustration. "You're never going to leave her, are you?" she demanded, throwing his gifts back at him. "I'm just your little secret, something to make your boring marriage more exciting." Rajiv tried to calm her with familiar promises, but Neha was past the point of believing them. "I have evidence of everything," she said quietly, her voice carrying a new edge. "Every promise you've made, every gift, every lie you've told your wife. Do you want me to send it all to her?" The threat hung in the air between them like a live wire. Rajiv realized for the first time that Neha wasn't just a romantic complication. She was a genuine threat to everything he'd built. His response was to buy more time with increasingly expensive gifts and more elaborate promises, but he also began to see her as an enemy rather than a lover. Meanwhile, Neha was reaching out to others who might help her achieve her goals by any means necessary. The line between love and revenge had blurred beyond recognition, and she was no longer thinking clearly about the consequences of her actions. The confrontation that would seal their fates occurred on March 10, 2017, in the private dining room of Zuma Dubai. Rajiv had arranged the meeting hoping to end their relationship amicably, perhaps with a generous financial settlement that would allow Neha to start fresh somewhere else. He arrived with a briefcase containing 500,000 AED in cash and documents for a business setup that would give her independence. Neha arrived with different intentions entirely. Over the past month, she'd been in contact with Karan Singh, a former hotel security guard who'd been fired for inappropriate behavior and harbored his own grudges against Rajiv. Their plan was simple in its brutality. If Rajiv wouldn't give her the life she wanted willingly, she would take it by force. "I'm done playing games," Neha announced as soon as they were seated. Her voice carried a cold fury that Rajiv had never heard before. "You have 48 hours to tell Priya about us and file for divorce, or I'm going to destroy you." She slid her phone across the table, showing him a prepared message to Priya that included photos, videos, and detailed accounts of their affair. "Your wife seems lovely on Instagram," she continued. "I'm sure she'll be devastated to learn what kind of man she married." Rajiv's composed facade cracked. "You can't be serious. Think about what you're saying. This would destroy innocent people, my children." You should have thought about that before lying to me for 6 months. Neha interrupted. I want everything you promised me, or everyone gets to see who you really are. The meeting ended with no resolution, but both parties understood that their secret war was about to become very public. What neither anticipated was how far the other was willing to go to protect their version of the truth. Karan Singh had been waiting for an opportunity to get revenge against Rajiv ever since his termination 6 months earlier. His dismissal had come after allegations of harassing female staff members, but he blamed Rajiv personally for destroying his career prospects in Dubai's tight-knit hospitality industry. When Neha approached him through mutual contacts in the Indian expatriate community, she initially sought help with intimidation tactics, perhaps vandalizing Rajiv's car or sending threatening messages to pressure him into compliance. But Karan had darker suggestions. Men like him think they're untouchable, he told her during a late-night meeting at a shisha cafe in Dera. They believe money can solve any problem. Sometimes you have to show them there are consequences that can't be bought off. Their planning sessions took place in internet cafes and public spaces, always careful to avoid surveillance cameras. Karan introduced her to a network of disaffected workers who harbored various grievances against Dubai's wealthy elite. The plan that emerged was ambitious and chilling. They would eliminate both Rajiv and Priya, staging it as a robbery gone wrong that would allow Neha to inherit his business interests as his secret business partner. Neha convinced herself that she was taking control of her destiny after months of being manipulated and controlled. In her twisted logic, removing Priya wasn't just about clearing the path to Rajiv. It was about claiming the life that had been promised to her. The woman she'd once been, the hopeful graduate with legitimate dreams, had been completely consumed by obsession and rage. March 15, 2017, was carefully chosen for its symbolic significance. Exactly 1 year after their first intimate evening together. Neha had convinced Rajiv to bring Priya to dinner at Pier Chic, the underwater restaurant at Al Khazar Hotel, by claiming she wanted to apologize and discuss an amicable end to their relationship. The restaurant's unique location, accessible only by a wooden walkway over the water, provided the perfect setting for their plan. The private dining pods offered excellent sound insulation, and the late dinner hour meant minimal staff presence. Karan had studied the restaurant's security protocols during previous reconnaissance visits, identifying blind spots in camera coverage and escape routes through the hotel's service areas. Priya's presence was ensured through a carefully crafted story about a potential business partnership that required her input as Rajiv's wife. Neha had positioned herself as a young entrepreneur seeking investment for a women's luxury lifestyle brand, a cover story that appealed to Priya's interests in supporting female business ventures. As the hour approached, each participant was driven by different motivations. Rajiv hoped to end the affair quietly and save his marriage. Priya expected a routine business dinner. Neha sought to claim the life she felt she deserved, and Karan saw an opportunity for revenge against the system that had rejected him. The convergence of these conflicting desires would create a perfect storm of violence. Earlier that day, life had proceeded with deceptive normalcy for all parties involved. Rajiv spent the morning at his children's school sports day, cheering for Arjun's cricket match while fielding business calls. Priya organized a charity fundraiser for migrant worker education, her passion project that had gained significant community support. Neha went through her regular beauty routine with unusual care, selecting an elegant black dress that she'd purchased specifically for this occasion. She posted a cryptic Instagram story, "Tonight everything changes," that her followers would later interpret as evidence of premeditation. Karan spent the day finalizing their preparations, acquiring the weapon through contacts in Dubai's underground economy, and reviewing their escape plan. He'd arranged for a speedboat to be waiting at a private dock near the hotel, with a driver who believed he was helping with a business deal gone wrong. The irony wasn't lost on any of them that they were converging on one of Dubai's most romantic restaurants, a place where countless couples had celebrated anniversaries and engagements. The restaurant's underwater setting, surrounded by marine life and soft lighting, would soon become the scene of a double murder that would shock the UAE's expatriate community. As evening approached, each participant made their final preparations, unaware that they were walking into a tragedy that would destroy multiple families and expose the dark underbelly of Dubai's luxury lifestyle culture. The underwater walkway to Pier Chic restaurant was illuminated by soft blue lights that cast dancing shadows through the water as marine life glided overhead. At 8:30 p.m., Rajiv and Priya arrived hand in hand, her emerald sari complementing his navy blue blazer. To any observer, they appeared to be the perfect couple enjoying an anniversary dinner at one of Dubai's most romantic venues. Priya marveled at the restaurant's ambience, taking photos of the jellyfish swimming above their private dining pod. "This is incredible," she told Rajiv, squeezing his hand. "I can't believe we've never been here before." Rajiv's smile was forced. His stomach churned with anxiety about the evening ahead, but he maintained his composure, ordering champagne and discussing their children's upcoming school holidays. Every few minutes, he checked his watch, knowing that Neha would arrive at 9:15 p.m. as planned. The first course arrived with impeccable presentation, seared scallops with cauliflower puree, paired with a crisp Sauvignon Blanc. Priya chatted about her charity work, unaware that her husband was mentally rehearsing the conversation that would end their relationship with his mistress. She had no idea that in less than an hour, her life would be over. When Neha arrived, dressed in an elegant black cocktail dress and carrying the Hermes bag Rajiv had given her for her birthday, Priya greeted her warmly. "You must be Neha. Rajiv mentioned you're starting a women's luxury brand. I'm so excited to hear about your vision." The irony of Priya's enthusiasm for supporting the woman who planned to kill her would later haunt investigators. Neha smiled graciously, playing her role perfectly while mentally counting down the minutes until Karan would join them. For the first 30 minutes, the conversation flowed naturally. Neha presented her fictional business plan with practiced confidence, discussing market opportunities for luxury women's products in the UAE. Her research was thorough. She'd spent weeks developing a credible story that would explain their meeting and her connection to Rajiv. Priya was genuinely engaged, offering insights from her charity work about women's economic empowerment in the region. She suggested potential partners and funding sources, even offering to introduce Neha to influential women in Dubai's business community. Her warmth and generosity made what was about to happen even more tragic. Rajiv watched the interaction with growing discomfort. Seeing his wife and mistress together, watching Priya offer genuine help to the woman who was threatening to destroy their family, made him realize the full extent of his betrayal. He'd expected Neha to be cold and calculating, but she was performing her role flawlessly, even seeming to enjoy Priya's attention. "I've always believed that women should support each other in business," Priya said, raising her champagne glass. "To female entrepreneurs who dare to dream big." Neha clinked glasses with them both, her smile never wavering. "To getting everything we deserve," she replied, the double meaning lost on Priya but causing Rajiv to tense visibly. As their main courses arrived, perfectly prepared seafood that none of them would finish, Neha checked her phone discreetly. A single message from Karan. "In position. Ready when you are." At 9:47 p.m., Neha excused herself to take a call, ostensibly from a potential investor. She walked toward the restaurant's entrance, her heels clicking on the wooden walkway. To anyone watching, she appeared to be a successful young businesswoman handling important communications. Instead, she was opening the service entrance for Karan and confirming that their targets were exactly where they needed to be. The restaurant's isolation, which made it so romantic for couples, also made it perfect for what they had planned. The nearest security cameras were at the hotel entrance, too far away to capture clear images of the restaurant's interior. When she returned to the table, her demeanor had shifted subtly. Priya noticed nothing, still enthusiastic about their business discussion, but Rajiv sensed the change immediately. The woman sitting across from him was no longer his passionate lover or even his angry ex-mistress. She had transformed into something cold and dangerous. "I'm sorry, but there's been a change of plans," Neha announced, her voice carrying a new edge. "Someone else will be joining us." Before either Rajiv or Priya could respond, Karan appeared in the dining pod doorway, his presence immediately filling the small space with menace. He was dressed in black, carrying a large duffel bag, and his expression left no doubt about his intentions. "What is this?" Priya gasped, instinctively moving closer to Rajiv. Her confusion was complete. She couldn't understand why a stranger was interrupting their business dinner, or why the atmosphere had suddenly turned threatening. Rajiv understood immediately. Neha, whatever you're planning, this isn't the way. Think about what you're doing. But Neha was beyond reasoning. Months of deception, broken promises, and accumulated rage had brought her to this moment. You had your chance to do this the easy way, she said coldly. Now we're doing it my way. Karan moved with practiced efficiency, using plastic zip ties to secure Rajiv and Priya to their chairs while Neha kept watch. The restaurant's soundproofing, designed to create intimate dining experiences, now worked against the victims as their screams went unheard. Priya's terror was absolute. She couldn't comprehend why this was happening or what she had done to deserve such treatment. Please, she begged. I have children. They need their mother. The mention of the children seemed to give Neha a momentary pause, but Karan had no such hesitations. This is business, he told them both. Nothing personal. What happened next would later be reconstructed through forensic evidence and crime scene analysis. The violence was brutal and efficient, designed to look like a robbery gone wrong. But investigators would soon discover that nothing had been stolen, and the crime's true motive was far more personal and devastating than random violence. The bodies were discovered at 6:30 a.m. the following morning by the restaurant's opening chef, who found the dining pod's door ajar and immediately called hotel security. The scene that greeted first responders was carefully staged to suggest a robbery gone wrong. Chairs overturned, Priya's jewelry scattered on the floor, Rajiv's wallet apparently rifled through. But Detective Hassan Al Maktoum, the lead investigator from Dubai Police's Criminal Investigation Department, immediately noticed inconsistencies. The staging was too perfect, the supposed theft too selective. Priya's expensive Cartier watch remained on her wrist, while only easily replaceable items had been taken. The restaurant's isolation made a random robbery extremely unlikely. The crime scene photos would later reveal the careful planning behind the murders. The victims had been restrained before being killed, suggesting they had known their attackers. The weapon used, a knife from the restaurant's own kitchen, indicated familiarity with the venue's layout. Most importantly, the security footage from the hotel's main entrance showed Neha arriving alone but leaving with a male companion who had somehow entered through a service area. Her calm demeanor as she departed, her careful avoidance of the main security cameras, and her failure to report the crime despite being the last known person to see the victims alive made her the immediate prime suspect. Detective Al Maktoum's team worked methodically through the evidence, quickly uncovering the web of deception that had led to the murders. Rajiv's phone records revealed months of communication with Neha, including intimate messages and financial transactions that painted a clear picture of their affair. Neha's apartment, searched within 48 hours of the discovery, contained a treasure trove of evidence. Hidden in a bedroom closet were gifts from Rajiv, documented communications about their relationship, and most damaging of all, a detailed journal chronicling her growing anger and plans for revenge. The entry dated March 1st read, "He thinks he can just throw money at me and make me disappear. He's about to learn that some problems can't be bought off. If I can't have the life he promised me, maybe it's time to take it." Karan Singh was arrested at Dubai International Airport, attempting to board a flight to Pakistan using false documentation. Under interrogation, he quickly confessed to his role in the murders, claiming that Neha had convinced him they were eliminating corrupt businessmen who exploited workers. His version of events painted Neha as the mastermind who had manipulated him into participating. The forensic evidence corroborated their confessions. DNA evidence linked both suspects to the crime scene, while financial records showed payments from Neha to Karan in the weeks leading up to the murders. The murder weapon, recovered from Dubai Creek where Karan had discarded it, bore fingerprints from both perpetrators. The trial of Neha Sharma and Karan Singh began 6 months later, drawing intense media attention throughout the region. The case exposed the dark side of Dubai's expatriate lifestyle culture, where young ambitious individuals could become entangled in dangerous relationships while chasing luxury and status. Neha's defense team argued temporary insanity caused by emotional manipulation and abuse, claiming she had been groomed and exploited by a powerful older man. They presented evidence of the financial disparity between her and Rajiv, the psychological pressure of maintaining a secret relationship, and her young age as mitigating factors. Karan's lawyers focused on his role as a manipulated accomplice, arguing that his termination from Rajiv's hotel had left him vulnerable to radicalization by someone seeking revenge. The prosecution, however, presented overwhelming evidence of premeditation. The journal entries, the careful planning, the staging of the crime scene, and the attempt to flee the country all pointed to calculated murder rather than crimes of passion. The verdict was unanimous. Both defendants were found guilty of double murder with premeditation. Neha received a life sentence, while Karan was sentenced to 25 years in prison. The judge's statement emphasized that regardless of their personal grievances, nothing justified the brutal murder of innocent people. The murder sent shockwaves through Dubai's Indian expatriate community, particularly affecting young women working in the hospitality and business sectors. The case became a cautionary tale about the dangers of pursuing luxury lifestyles through questionable relationships and the importance of maintaining ethical boundaries in professional settings. Rajiv's hotels were sold to settle his estate, with the proceeds going to his children's education fund managed by Priya's family. The children, now orphaned, returned to India to live with their maternal grandparents, their lives forever changed by their father's poor choices and their mother's innocent victimization. The case prompted changes in how Dubai's hospitality industry monitors relationships between senior executives and junior employees. New protocols were implemented requiring disclosure of personal relationships that could create conflicts of interest or power imbalances. Neha's social media accounts, once aspirational lifestyle content, became evidence exhibits in criminal proceedings. Her story serves as a stark reminder that the pursuit of social media-worthy luxury can lead to devastating consequences when built on deception and manipulation. The restaurant where the murders occurred closed permanently, unable to overcome the association with the tragic events. The underwater dining pods that had once hosted romantic celebrations became a symbol of how quickly paradise can transform into hell when human desires turn destructive. 5 years later, the case remains one of Dubai's most notorious crimes, studied in criminology courses and cited in discussions about expatriate mental health and cultural adaptation pressures. The children, now teenagers living quiet lives in India, have chosen to distance themselves from their father's legacy and their mother's tragic fate. Neha, serving her life sentence in a UAE women's correctional facility, has reportedly expressed remorse for her actions, particularly for the impact on the children. Her appeals have been unsuccessful, and she faces the prospect of spending the remainder of her life paying for decisions made in moments of rage and desperation. The case serves as a permanent reminder that behind Dubai's glittering facade of success and luxury, human emotions and moral failures can lead to consequences that destroy multiple families and shatter entire communities. The pursuit of material success, when it compromises ethical behavior and honest relationships, can exact a price that no amount of wealth can ever repay.